Greetings, fellow mathematicians. Let's talk about divergent thinking. What is divergent thinking? Divergent thinking means that we're going to think about all possibilities. We're not just going to think about one way of doing things, one way of solving things. We're going to think of all possibilities. Now, a few years ago, NASA used to give their astronauts a divergent thinking test where they had to find, for example, as many uses as they could for, say, a paperclip. Now, to be able to go into space, you needed to be a divergent thinker, and what that means is you needed to be able to think of up to 50 uses for a paperclip. They gave the test to some children who were between 3 and 5 years old, and 98% of them scored in the genius range for divergent thinking. In other words, in the same range as NASA astronauts that go into space. They then tested the same children 5 years later, and only 32% of them were still divergent thinkers. They tested the same children 5 years later, and this time only 10% were still divergent thinkers. Now, how did they stop being divergent thinkers? Well, maybe the way that they were taught in school and the way that they were treated as they were growing up by their parents and by the community. So our aim as teachers is to keep these children being divergent thinkers. The world needs divergent thinkers. How can we do that? We can use questioning instead of telling. We can think about the pedagogy that we use, and my specialty is maths, but it would apply to all curriculum areas, to make sure that the children are thinking of all possibilities and we're not limiting their thoughts to just a single path. Now, the really good news is that 98% of 3 to 5 year olds are still divergent thinkers. This means that in any class, when they first come to school, 98% of your children are still divergent thinkers. We can use that, we can build on it. Even when they leave primary school, 30 or so percent of them are still divergent thinkers. So we can, no matter what grade you're teaching, you can use the children who are still divergent thinkers to encourage and to make the other children more divergent in their thinking as well.